discuss Indigo children. Way back when, in the 1970s, it was a gal named Nancy Ann Trapp that coined the expression Indigo children. These children are then, in theory, here to make the world ultimately a better place. They constitute the evolvement of mankind into a place where there is no war and where there is no fast food and there is no violence. But again, it's a coined term that's very modern, but I don't know. My personal jury is out about this, because what was I in those days as a little boy when I was what all these indigo children are? Telepathic, clairvoyant, empathic, spiritually inclined. There have been many kids when I was a little boy that were like this too. Maybe at the time they were considered a bit more strange. I just feel that the reason this new race or octave of young people are becoming more embraced is because of the maybe the media describing these young people as having a lot of violet or aura in their aura photography. But I don't know, I've always had violet in my aura, and many do. Anyway, if I didn't pronounce it correctly, because I'm not sure I did, it's Nancy Ann Trapp. If that's even pronounced correctly. But the point is, there are many children born nowadays, American children I might add, who are diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. Their parents, some parents, I guess in order to, I don't know, in order to redeem themselves or redeem the spirits of their children, either medicate them or consider them to be gifted or homeschool them. Again, I delight in the energy field of young people, and I know they're very open to the paranormal, but should they be necessarily homeschooled? It depends. I mean, initially it seems like it makes it easier. If I was a young kid nowadays, because of, let's say, my eccentricities or my artistic sensibilities or my independence and spiritual understanding, perhaps I would have elected to ask my parents to homeschool me. But ultimately, looking back in retrograde, I've discovered that what I learned as a result of society, what I learned as a result of my interaction with other kids, the good kids and the naughty ones, actually helped me as a person. It helped me to grow. So again, I'm not dismissing homeschool. I just feel that regardless of where the station of your childlike ability is, whether it's mundane and you're just a regular kid and there's nothing wrong with that, or whether you're highly evolved empathically or clairvoyantly, I know that ultimately it did serve me to understand spirituality better. Okay, rather than discuss the cons and the negativity about such things, let's discuss all that's positive about this new age and young people. Young people go through some sort of a metamorphosis. So in the growth process, they seem to emit some sort of electrons and some sort of electrical vibrational field that spiritual activity seems to be quite attracted to. I have noticed in all my years of spiritual and paranormal investigation that most houses that are haunted have at least a young person, a pseudo-almost teenager in the house, and inevitably there's even more than one. Most homes that I've gone to do some sort of a for lack of a better description, exorcism, spirit cleansing, a saging, a smudging, some kind of a releasing of too much dramatic spiritual activity in the house. It is inevitably not only had young people in the home, but all their friends were invited to the house that night to see Danny do his thing as I'm sensing and cleansing each room. So it's I noticed that 2 kids in the house went to 24 friends that are visiting at any given time. But these young people put out a vibrational field that spirits are indeed attracted to. So we grow for these 20 years, but then we start to hit a plateau, And then from that moment on, we're in some sort of decline. It's an energy field that the spirits are less attracted to because it's not any longer whatever that hormonal or charge is that pushes pushes forth great force or triumph of force that seems to really draw like a magnet all of this, whatever this is out there in the ethereum. Well, whatever it is, and that's a given. So there is an energy field that young people do produce, and it's quite interesting. And it's got a beautiful paranormal vibrational field to it. So many clients of mine over the decades have given me their stories and personal experiences with young people who will say the most fascinating things about seeing a great-grandma, a grandpa, that they never knew, but they can call by name or say what they're doing or in essence blow their parents' mind. I often have to tell modern parents, it's perfectly normal. It's okay. If you're not afraid of it too much, and you shouldn't be, because obviously they're being loved and watched over, don't scare a kid, don't scare a young person. These children are at the height of their awareness. Little ones are like sponges. Sometimes when they're playing with their little who knows what, and parents are who knows what they're doing in the background, arguing, loving, concerned over bills, you think that little 4-year-old doesn't know exactly what's going on behind them as they're tinkering with their toys? They know everything. And until they're taught that they're not to observe what's going on in the spirit world, they keep absorbing additional information. Woe is that day that comes when either school or society or a parent ultimately tells a kid, don't talk that way. It's too strange, it's too eccentric, it's too weird. Don't talk like that. That's nonsense. That's your imaginary friend. So I find that about 9, 10, 11, just preteen almost, that's when quite often, for most kids, it ebbs away. And it shouldn't ebb away. These kids are brilliant. They're gifted. They're connected to things, perhaps even from another life, another place. Listen to them. They're here to teach you something. You know, the gifts we come into this life with, myself as an artist, I was never trained as an artist. I've drawn this way ever since I did my mother's crayon portrait, because I never forgot how to paint. But of course, there's other things I didn't forget too, like how many times in past lives I've drowned. So I had a fear of water for quite some time. But over the course of my life, I rose above that fear. I'm a good swimmer. I love the ocean. I like to swim, and it's great exercise, and I overcame it. So children can play the piano. They can play pool. They can write music. They can create masterpieces of watercolor or art. They can do a lot of things, and it's hard when they're discouraged. I was lucky because when I was a little boy, way back when, and one of my mentors, Kreskin, had just come out with a game in which you learned your own extrasensory perception, and my parents were very fond of treating me to this after I got good grades in my homework, and we would do all sorts of telepathic exercises. I was one of the lucky ones, because I know a lot of adults my age were not given parental permission, or there was even the religious dogma at the time that for some reason dismissed it or felt it was some sort of a avenue to the shadow world, when of course it isn't. These are gifts given to us from the heavens. These little children are gems, and it's our job as adults to polish those gems, because these little treasures are indeed the remakers of the future. They are our saviors in the days ahead. As the world continues to go through its earth changes, it is they that potentially can figure out a way to solve this problem through all sorts of forms of extra senses that tell them how to do it, pragmatic senses that tell them how to do it, extra senses that as a cosmic consciousness, they, as well as we, seem to all be gathering information simultaneously. So it's all quite unique, and we're all part of the same tapestry. I'm convinced that the Indigo children have been around a long, long time. It's just that aura photography or heat photography or kinetic photography, or whatever this is just showing a bit more evidence of it lately than ever before. When it's starting to rain as I'm speaking. It feels nice. Oh, the cats are misbehaving, like they do in every video. You know me on YouTube. They do this all the time. It's usually Troy the Instigator. But I'm convinced these children have always been around. It's just that we're more aware than ever. But are we also aware of the fact, at least in America, I can't speak for every country. I've traveled in many, but I can't speak for the children there. The heightened youth violence of some individuals. Is it their sensitivity? Is it the games that they're playing? Is it the movies that they're privy to that perhaps they should not be? Is it growing up too soon? I had a childhood. I don't know if all these kids have one anymore. I hope that most of them do. And I would love many parents to be responsible. And a lot of my friends who are parents are largely quite responsible. And they treat their children to very creative activities and to nature. And that matters a lot. That's where you're going to plug into the real energy of the earth and the higher powers and the divine. So here we are now, each day, getting older. And the young people are taking their place, their position in society. They're gifted. And yes, they are becoming, as a group, more intellectualized, more cerebral, more telepathic, more clairvoyant, more clairaudient, more aware on paranormal levels. They should not be perceived as strange. But it depends on the family member. Some family members, you never know. They'd rather that you just know how to, I don't know, blow a big bubble with your bubble gum, as opposed to the fact that you might be seeing the spirit world. But bear in mind, as I said earlier, a lot of these kids are doing that lately. And again, it freaks the older generation or their parents out a bit. I've had to very often quell that in parents and tell them it'll either pass, and that makes me sad, I wish it didn't, or it'll become more illuminated and they'll be quite enlightened, and they'll be the psychics, the intuitives, the Atlanteans of the future. This indigo, or a violet, or third eye energy, is quite apparent. It's quite unusual. It's a specific chakra that vibrates to the pineal gland and opens up third eye energy. As long as I can remember, a lot of my paintings have included either white, Asian, or black people in some sort of a violet hue. So whether it's King Tut, Jamaican Grace Jones, Spanish Salvador Dali from Quebec, or Grace in the distance, I don't know if you can see her, but I've always, one way or another, added some sort of a amethyst hue to the skin. I even noticed people that find purple to be their favorite color are quite violet enthusiasts. They really are almost hypnotized by the color. But when you think about it, it certainly isn't a primary color. It's the mixture of, to some extent, the very strong, powerful pink and or red vibration of gals, the heart side rather, or that bluish or navy or sky blue color of boys, the masculine or yang side. Combine these energies together and you get that androgynous or open vibrational energy field or understanding of lavender, where anyone, adult or child, is open to the sensibilities of both genders. That's why these children come into this life sometimes a boy with feminine sensibilities, or a gal with masculine sensibilities, or having a girl that wants to do target practice, or a boy that wants to very much be involved in fashion. It has a lot to do with sometimes even all the past lives we've lived and the influences they've placed upon us older spirits. It's all so unique. Let's do 1,000 YouTube videos on it. The greatest thing I can offer you in this video, and a friend of mine, a gal in Florida, Priya, who does so much, her and her husband, in honor of children and their growth. The greatest thing I can offer you in this video is to encourage young people. Simply that. So regardless of indigo children or telepathy or all the metaphysical implications, encourage them to be themselves. Allow them to assimilate well into society. Show them a beautiful future, and we're going to have then a lovely society. It's going to be one that's fortuitous, and one that's abundant, and one where everyone treasures each other ultimately, and they're going to drive trucks down the block, I don't know. But that said, speaking of children, and I've not done anything quite like that in a video before, let us see what the cosmic voice, the children of the voice, has to say about such things when we discuss indigo children. And even the children ultimately that are lost to us, and in theorem don't make it into the earth plane, they're our cosmic children. Perhaps they're the most special of all. They're aligned with the stars. They're up there in the heavens. They belong to us too, and they're not to be forgotten. That said, let's see what the vibrational fields have to say when we speak of the various stages of the human condition. The first vibrational field that comes through is this one. Okay, the vibrational field goes way back in time. It's interesting that it's another one of my violet images, but it's an image of Charlie Chaplin. He influenced the generations before me. And the one person in particular that I know he influenced greatly, because she's the reason I did all my paintings of Charlie Chaplin, is my mother. When she was a little girl, for 10 cents, she would spend the afternoon at the movie theater watching The Gold Rush and other silent movies with Charlie Chaplin in them. This is the man that co-wrote the song Smile, Though Your Heart Is Aching. He's the one that influenced the woman who gave birth to and influenced me, and didn't squelch my individuality, but rather opened the doors of perception. So, here's the hero from the past. Done in violet, I might add, ironically. Okay, let's go into number 2. So, again, that point, of course, with somebody who's famous in the 1920s and 30s is, this has been going on for a long time, and a lot longer than the 1920s and 30s. This has been going on for millennia. All right, these two want to come out. They obviously did, so they're number 2 and number 3. Let's start with number 2. The vibrational field says this. Okay, it's a butterfly. So it's interesting. All right, so a butterfly lays her eggs. Those little eggs then become the little baby caterpillars. They're just tots. They're infants. But once they become the young butterflies, before they become tattered by maybe a blue jay, or before the winds rip them and batter them and beat them a bit, they're pretty strong. And the image here shows indeed a very young and healthy butterfly doing what butterflies do, living, finding their way to those gorgeous violet and purple buddleias to sip from them and get some nectar, and just, if nothing else, just to be beautiful. Maybe that's what kids should be allowed to do more than anything. Just live their lives and have some fun. Follow their heart. Okay, and vibrational field number 3, that also came out by itself, says this. Well, the painting I call Memory Harvest. This particular piece I set up in my mother's kitchen. It was her bowl. It was her apples. It was my marigolds, a broom my godmother bought me, a crystal ball that I bought, a holder my wife made for me. In those days, she was just my girlfriend. But the whole idea is, I did this image, this painting, when I was a little boy, in my mother's kitchen, while she was making dinner for us kids and my dad to come home from work way back when, in those days, when moms had the luxury of doing that, instead of having 2 jobs. And allowing me to paint a broom and a crystal ball with her apples and pumpkins. I will never forget and be forever grateful for parents like this, my mother and father, who allowed me to feel normal, happy, okay, and to see the world forever in this lifetime with the eyes of a child, filled with wonderment. Are there new things under the sun? Well, to me there always will be, and I hope that is the case for you too. There should never be a lifetime where there's nothing new under the sun. Every day that you open your eyes should feel like it's a wonderful, mystical, magical experience where anything could be available to you and your children.